This is WOMMLP operating out of Burlington, Vermont. 105.9 The Radiator. Good evening. It's the Rocket Shop. I'm your host, Tom Proctor, and with me tonight is the Delta Suite Duo. Hello, how's it going, guys?
Hi, we're good. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm not too bad. Wet, mostly. Pretty damp.
Same.
I'm not going to complain. It's just an indication of spring, and it's what we're all looking forward to.
Right, yeah. We look forward to the rain at this point, for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah, snow's melting. We're good.
Yeah, I'll definitely take that over another snow flurry or snow squall or whatever. And in fact, we're meant to be going salamander hunting later on this evening, and apparently this is a perfect weather for it. So
Cool.
Sure is.
Even better reason to love the rain. Anywho, before we get off into the salamander sidetrack, we like kicking it off with a song. So what you've got for us?
Great. First, we're going to do a song called There's Never Been a Moment. Nick wrote this song.
I wrote the song for Sarah.
That's right. There's never been a moment in my life when I can say that I regretted trying to make the skies clear and blue over you. It's what I do.
Well, sometimes I feel I've dealt my highest cards, left with nothing to bet alone in a dirty bar. But when it's uplifting that my heart needs, well, I'll be wherever you will be.
Well, I can't describe the look, honey, in your eyes when I know you're truly happy deep down inside. And without you, I'd be alone and blue. Yeah, it's true. I'd be forever blue. There's never been a moment in my life when I can say that I regretted trying to make the skies clear and blue over you. It's what I do. It's what I do.
All right, Delta Suite Duo there with There's Never Been a Moment. A lovely, sweet song to start us off with.
Thank
Thank
you.
Yeah. Do you want to tell us a little bit about how you two met? I did have a little bit of a Facebook and Instagram stalk today, and I believe you two are a couple. So, musically speaking, or couple speaking, how do you two know each other?
We met when we both were going to Burlington College about 10, 12 years ago almost.
Yeah, and it's,
That college no
it's
longer
funny.
exists. So,
Yeah.
I mean, that
Right,
says
yeah,
a
we're
few
just
things.
talking.
It's funny you should call the song Sweet because we met in a maple sugaring class.
Oh, well, there we go.
That's true. That's a whole other level of Vermont meet cute kind of thing.
It really is. Is that the career trajectory you guys ended up going on? Are you guys now sugarers?
Not at all.
Okay.
Got some in my family, but no.
Yeah.
No. We consume a lot of the maple though, that's
Yeah.
for sure.
That's right. But yeah, Nick was playing music when I met him in college, and he had a couple bands, and I joined our full band, the Red Newts, like, I don't know, 6 years ago.
Yeah.
But we started this project right before COVID, actually. Our first gig was supposed to be in April 2020. So it never was.
I've heard that story a few times.
Right,
Actually,
yeah.
It's like, yeah, we had it booked for like March 31st,
Yep.
2020, and just never came about, and and so on and so forth. But yeah, I'm glad you kept the idea going. When was the end? When did the first gig end up actually happening?
Was it? So I don't remember what when Wallflower Collective downtown opened. So was that a year ago or 2 years ago? A year ago this past summer.
2 years.
2 years this
Yeah.
summer. This coming summer. Yeah. So just about 2 years ago, we were in there. We were in the bar, and the owners were looking for bands. And we were a little bit lit up. And typically, it's like not a thing for us to just be like, "Hey, we're in a band,"
I would
And
never.
and Sarah,
But I did.
I looked over. I was like, "Did you just say that to them?" Because they were like, so they put us on the spot too, and they put they were like, "Well, can we look you up?" And we told them to look up our band, the Red Newts, on Spotify. So they looked it up, and they played it in the bar
We were
right there
sitting
with
right
us
there.
sitting, and we were like,
I was mortified.
musician, right? It's like, and it's not just musicians. If you're any kind of like, if you've ever been recorded, you listen back, it's a special kind of torture. So but we got the gig.
But yeah,
man.
they liked it.
Yeah.
So, phew.
Yeah, well, and so tell me a little bit about how that first gig after, 2 years or so after the first gig was meant to happen. How does that feel for you? As a couple, as band members, as this new project, what was that like?
It was a little scary because it had been a while since we had performed, and especially like just the two of us, it was a whole new dynamic than having like a full band and being more like loud and rockin'. This is like intimate and like, but very fun, and it's given us a chance to kind of like work out a different dynamic together. And we've played a lot of gigs at the Wallflower actually, and it's kind of like, it's great. We love them there, but yeah.
Yeah, it's a lovely spot. Actually,
Yeah.
not enough bands do play there, I feel. It's cozy, but it's big enough, and it's got good acoustics, and
Yeah, we really like honed in our duo there, honestly.
Yeah,
like we've played other
fantastic.
gigs at other places, but that's where it's at.
Yeah, kind of like like Sarah was saying, it was just like there was like the COVID shock coming back in it, but then also like we're like, oh man, where's Glenn on drums? Like where's Luke on bass? Kind of like a little bit of like feeling a little bit lonely, but then we kind of like built a different kind of dynamic, like Sarah said, and you can hear how some songs will translate really easily and other ones you're surprised by, so it's really a good experience for sure.
So, as you've mentioned, you've got your other bands, the Red Newts, and then you got the Babes of Butcher Holler. I kind of thought that was all one name originally, the Red Newts and the Babes of Butcher Holler, which sounds like a fantastic, country western film potentially. But tell us a little bit about why you decided to start this project. Before we all knew COVID was hitting, obviously you had this idea in mind that you're going to create this new project with the two of you. We've already got these two other bands. So what niche was this band going to fill that you potentially couldn't get with a larger band?
Honestly, I think it started with the fact that Nick and I have almost the same exact schedule. So anytime a gig was proposed, we could just be like, "You good? We're good. All right, we're in."
And that was the thing, was like we did have like the booking demand. Like there was like people would go, well, can you guys just like play as a duo? And we'd be like, there was a time where we'd be like, well, we'd probably, maybe, I think we did it at like my sister's wedding once, like did a duo during the ceremony kind of thing. But then we warmed up to the idea, and it was a functional kind of thing in a way,
Yeah. But it's really given us a chance to also add a lot of material in that just like is a lot more time consuming with a full band than with just the two of us. And we're like, hey, this is already one of my favorite songs, so half of us knows it already.
Yeah, how does that dynamic work in terms of creating new songs as well? Do you two sit down and write together, or is it a case of, Sarah, you go away and you write some lyrics, and Nick, you go away and write some lyrics, and then you kind of come back and exchange ideas? How does this work between the two of you?
Like it's kind of funny because it's like I think it's gone every possible combination of like starting with Sarah's idea and me kind of building off it. Like Sarah like writes really awesome lyrics, and they don't come as easy for me. Like when I hit it, I feel like pretty good about it. But like, you know, Sarah comes with me with these lyrics, and I kind of like pick up on a vibe of the lyrics. Sarah maybe gives me some like, well, I'm kind of thinking it's like this. It sounds like this, or.
I know a few chords on guitar, but he's the real.
Oh, that's true though, because there are. That's the other thing is like sometimes
Right.
Sarah's got the chords like partially written. I hear a chord that, you know, I'm like, oh, maybe we throw this one in there. But then there also has been times where I've given Sarah a recording of me playing a little idea I had, and then that's turned into a song. So, and then as far as like you know, working on the lyrics together, that does happen to a certain extent as well. Yeah.
And you two live together?
Yeah.
So, I mean, how much of this is kind of like, you know, you're just humming away in the kitchen and then suddenly you've got like a little ditty that you're singing along with it? I mean, like, how much of this is spontaneous? Or do you guys like set out some time for like, you know, Tuesday afternoons is Delta Suite duo time and we're gonna hammer this out?
We're not that organized. I feel like often what happens is we're at work and I'm like, I think of a line or something and I'm like, oh, Nick, I think I have a chorus for something, and it's like a little back and forth in text, or we have like a Google Doc with the edits open and we're like
Yeah, it is interesting because it is like I know sometimes, and it's pretty common like to get in that headspace where you're like the creative juices are flowing is sometimes like coupled with isolation, you know, and it's not so much like a comfort thing. It could be, you know, like it's just the idea of being alone and hyper focused on one thing is like the best way to get that process going. And so it is kind of nice to trade it back and forth, and then like Sarah can listen to like a recording I do, and then when we have a complete idea, not fully complete but good enough, then we start doing it together. And yeah, like when we bring songs to the band too, sometimes they're not fully complete either, you know. I'm a big fan of like hearing other people's input before I'm like, no, I have a vision and we need to stick to it, you know. I love collaboration. So
has there been many songs where you thought it's for Delta Suite duo and actually, you know, it's maybe a bigger band kind of thing, or vice versa? Do you ever write stuff with a band you're like, actually, I'm going to steal this one, and this is going to be a Delta Suite duo song, and we're going to keep this one. I'm going to be a bit jealous about it.
I think we do have a couple that like haven't really been brought over to the band yet, or maybe we brought it up once and we were like, maybe we'll just keep it to ourselves.
Like actually, the first song we played, or you know, There's Never Been a Moment. That one, like I played with like the first iteration of the Red Newts, like years and years ago, and like. I always loved it, but like it didn't feel like it was kind of like fulfilling like you know, the full song's potential. And it's not, you know, it was never like a dud when we played it out live. Like people enjoyed it, but it was like when we started playing it as a duo and you're like really focusing on the vocals and giving them room to breathe, that was a good example of one that we're kind of like, I think this is kind of a duo tune now, you know.
Yeah, steal this one back. Well, we'd love to hear another song. So what have you got for us?
Sure. This one's called This Lonesome Town.
Telephone call, they just make me sick. I'm about ready to give up on all of it. At least that you not your fault. You'd never start a fight. Being with you is all I can do to get out of this lonesome town. And all I can say is maybe someday find a love who loves me too. Loves me too.
All right, Del the Sweet duo there with this lonesome town. Were you talking about Burlington on that one? Or is this, yeah?
Well, kind of metaphorical a
Yeah.
little bit. But I grew up here and in Burlington, and it was this was written about someone before I met Nick, you know. And yeah, it was kind of one of those relationships where it felt like, well, I have this to get out of, you know, whatever I'm going through, this lonesome town that I feel like I'm in, and it feels like the only escape, even though ultimately it's worse.
Yeah. It's weird. Obviously, I'm a transplant, as you may have gathered by the accent. Yeah, it's weird to think of Burlington as kind of this almost oppressive place, because obviously I've chosen to move here, and so it makes a big difference. But yeah, I can very much see like growing up here. It
Yeah,
is kind
small
of
town.
it's kind of isolating. Yeah, it's kind of small. So I fully understand that. So all right, so you grew up in Vermont, Nick. You a Vermonter?
I've been here for quite a while now, like I think 15 years or so, but I grew up in Western Mass.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
New Englander at the very least.
Exactly, yeah.
I see.
Yep, yeah.
Not exactly known for its country music, although I do know that blues and country have a fairly decent following around Vermont, especially up in the rural sections of Vermont, like a ton of country music fans. You don't see too many country and blues bands around here, though. As a country and blues duo, and also parts of bands that are also kind of country and blues. Why is that? Is it still too niche? Or am I wrong about this? Is there actually a massive blues and country band group here?
I think it's definitely been growing. If you've ever been over to Radio Bean for Honky Tonk Tuesday, for a while it was, you know, sometimes it'd be packed, sometimes it'd be 10 people in there. But now every Tuesday there's a line, and it's, you know, you have to get there early. So it's been really cool to kind of see that that fandom grow, and you know, both of our friends play in both of those honky tonk bands, so it's really cool. Sometimes we get to sit in, and it's just like, it's awesome to be up there and feel this like excitement for like an old Patsy Cline song or something, seeing like people with X's on their hands getting down. I'm like, wow,
Yeah.
sweet.
Yeah, you know, it is interesting because it's like, it definitely feels like it's growing. But there was a time, you know, even on Honky Tonk Tuesday, you could be like, hey, any Hank Williams fans in here? And like, you get like a couple claps, you know what I mean? And now it's like everyone knows all the words to like every song. And you know, as far as like blues and like other adjacent genres, it's kind of like, the way I look at it is like, I mean, blues is like literally everywhere, but like, I know what you mean. Like if you're going to walk in a bar in Vermont, you're not likely going to hear like Little Red Rooster, you know what I mean? But I will say, like, even the jam scene itself, like, which is probably the most prominent scene in the state of Vermont historically, and you know, the band that got, like, I mean, I've heard these stories word of mouth, so like, I don't know about, but it's like, the rumor that I heard is like, you know, the Fish guys came to town and they saw the Unknown Blues Band at Nectar's. Maybe it was Club Toast, something like that. And that was kind of like what did it. So we do have like a local blues history as well, but obviously, like we all know, this is not the origins of the genre.
Right.
But I will say, you know, there are a few like younger bands too I'm seeing that are playing like really traditional blues. And it's just great to see all around. And like the same things happen with country, like Sarah was saying. And like I don't know if it's like people cooped up in their houses, like needing to find old music during COVID. You know, all of a sudden, like names are becoming a lot more popular that previously were just like I said, you know, you yell like Michael Hurley in the radio bean years ago, and everyone would be like, "Who's that?" And now it's like everyone knows, you know. So
Maybe we've got like a trend coming up. Maybe the blues and country music scene is about to hit the big time in the next couple of years. That'd be
It's about to
great.
go
I'd love
off.
that.
Yeah.
We weirdly bumped into my partner and I, who's just sat back here, bumped into a guy in Honduras, of all places, who ran a blues festival just north of the border in Canada.
whoa.
Which we need to follow up with, actually, and find out what's going on with that. Because
Yeah.
I was questioning him about that. I was like, how big of a blues scene is there in Montreal? Apparently a fairly big one, enough that he's got a festival together. But so, Nick, you're implying there that you play Honky Tonk Tuesday yourself. Is that right?
Yeah, well, we like since we're good buds with like both like Wild League River and Pony Hustle, we've sat in quite a bit. There was one complete takeover we did where it was like me and Sarah fronting the band for the night, and it was a blast. But
Yeah,
like
I was gonna say, was that one of those nights where it was lines outside the door where you're playing to
Yeah.
yeah.
It
80,
felt
90,
really
100
cool.
people?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was like so funny because like our buddy who plays in Pony Hustle was like, he like called me up, and we were like down in Massachusetts, and you know, I had just left the dispensary down there, and I sampled the product, so I was like kind of just waiting for it. I remember I was picking up lunch for us, and he calls me and he's like, it's like Sunday or Saturday, and he's like, hey, you know, we made a mistake in the scheduling, and can you and Sarah like. Do you and Sarah want to fill in? And we were like, yeah, let's do it. And, you know,
figure it out.
we're like, immediately you're like counting. You're like, all right, who's going to play this? Who's going to play that? And we pulled everyone in. And like at one point, I think there was like definitely
10 of us.
10 people on stage. Yeah, it was good. Good night.
Yeah, I can imagine. Have you? Is there gonna be a follow-up to this? Are you guys gonna play another honky tonk at some point, or is this kind of like an as and when they need someone to fill in?
Yeah, I mean, I guess we're opportunists when it comes to that.
Yeah.
It's like, I mean, anytime we walk, like there, you know, we'll play a gig at Wallflower and head over to Honky Tonk after. And hey, Nick and Sarah, you want to play a song? Oftentimes, you know, Sarah does Loretta Lynn very well. So yeah, it's always a blast. Yeah.
Yeah, I can imagine. What a great thing to kind of be part of, especially as it's now just so popular. I mean, you cannot get in unless you go early. And we've tried a couple of times, and we just see the line out the door, and it's like middle of January, and I'm like,
Turnaround.
absolutely not. We're going home. We'll try again in May. How did you two kind of get into country and blues? Because, you know, both northeasterners. Again, as I said, it's somewhat popular here, but not like something that you would stumble in a bar or whatever.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, how did you two kind of get to find your love for the genre?
When I was growing up, my grandpa always had country music on, and it was usually WOKO back in the day when it was all the like good, like Alan Jackson, Shania Twain, George Strait, like all those people. I actually was the WOKO listener of the week when I was 10, so I
Congrats.
still have the certificate.
And the sweatshirt.
And the sweatshirt. Still hits. Yeah, and, you know, for a while when I was a teenager, he passed away, and I definitely went through, like, an angsty phase where I just listened to, like, the darkest music and, you know, kind of left all that country stuff behind. And then I met Nick in college and kind of reignited my interest in it. And,
Yeah, Nick,
Yeah,
how did you
it-
get into them?
Yeah, I mean, like it's kind of funny because it definitely like the country comes from my grandfather as well. He when he sang Johnny Cash, it was like dead on. You know, he had that really deep voice. But so definitely a lot of my interest in country comes from him, and like my aunt, his daughter is like super into like Patsy Cline, and my dad's like always into Roger Miller, and so I really, though, kind of didn't listen to it a lot when I was younger, except for with them. But I got like super into blues, like Delta blues, and it kind of like set me off on that's like where my musical journey started. And then you start to see how the lines overlap, And it's just such a great story to try to like trace back like the times that country and blues and soul and bluegrass and everything was kind of like crisscrossing, overlapping so fast, like evolving, and that was kind of like what really ignited my interest in American music. And when I started my first band in Burlington, I was writing country songs. I was back into it, but all the guys I was playing music with wanted to play punk. And so
Classic.
we literally like we combined them. We were playing these like country songs, not
Country
like
punk.
yeah, but we weren't like it's not like we were playing like we weren't playing Lost Highway at like breakneck speed. It was like all original stuff. But
nice.
it was like an interesting thing because at first we thought we were like pulling away and we're like, wait a minute, this works. But right around college is when the country started coming back in to my life for sure. Yeah.
Just thinking about it, so I was like, country punk. There's got to be some big bands out there that would be considered country punk. Alabama 3, I think, probably would be considered country punk, kinda.
I've never heard them.
The
me.
Sopranos,
It's the Sopranos.
The Sopranos. The opening theme tune is
Oh,
Alabama 3.
word, yeah.
And weirdly enough, they're actually a British band from like Birmingham.
Oh, funny.
What?
With this real thick Alabama
Wow.
twang that they
Yeah.
put on. But yeah,
Well, like there's always tons of elements of country and even like indie music, and like kind of a more toned down punk band that I think has a country sound is the Replacements, and also like when it comes to indie music, like when I hear Modest Mouse is like also a really like I love that band, but that's all country licks. It's all Telecaster country licks.
Yeah.
And Twang City and like and again like talking about the intersections of genres and stuff.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I live for right there.
I would not have said Modest Mouse, but now you said it. Yeah, I can't. I'm
Yeah,
not,
next
never
time
able to
you'll hear all
unhear
those
that
bands.
now.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's wild. So you guys play a lot of like blues and country covers with your other bands and yourself, and actually saw a good Muddy Waters one on your Instagram actually, which loves some Muddy Waters. How do you two strike the balance between like covers and originals? The longer that you stay as a duo or as a band, do you find it kind of leans more towards the originals, or do you try and keep that balance going?
I think we try as best we can to keep the balance, but definitely lately with the duo, it's just been like, it's just our chance to just like play all the songs we want to play and
anything
just
you
like
want.
easily. And I'm just like, hey, how about these 5 songs I just thought of? And we're like, all right, cool. We've got a gig in 2 weeks. We got time. Let's do it. And then like
Yeah.
suddenly our set list is way too long. And I'm like, now we have to cut songs.
Yeah.
but it's true. Like I feel like when it comes to like a 2-hour set or more, you're kind of like you're hoping for 50-50 like covers, but like you might not quite be there. We definitely focus on it, cater to the scenario. Like if it's a short slot, all killer no filler, then we're gonna play as many originals as we can.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you pick a cover that kind of like makes a point.
Right.
But yeah, I don't know. It's like I feel like usually with the Newts, it's like it's 50-50-ish, but with the duo, like Sarah was saying, it's like that's a lot. It's a lot of songs when we have to do like a 3-hour slot or something like that. You're just like, oh my God, like let's just play every song we know. Let's just do them all.
Right. Well, when you're playing like some summer barbecue thing where you're meant to be on stage forever, and
Yeah.
you don't want to. Yeah, you might as well just do everything if you've got like a 3-hour slot. Well, we'd love to hear another song. So what we've got for the third one?
Sure, yeah. We're going to go into the blues territory now. This song is called Time's Up.
I'm losing my mind. You're running out of time. Who knows what I'll find?
Time's Up there by the Delta Suite Duo. So, how many songs would you guys say you've got these days in your back burner? How many have you got in your repertoire?
Oh man,
I mean, we got to be over 50, right?
I was gonna say
wow.
Yeah. I mean, like, because
amount of songs.
I mean, like the Red Newts repertoire. Like, I think the last time we had to fill, I think we played down at Charlie O's last, and it was like, I mean,
3 hours.
yeah, it was like that's like a 30-song list, and then we got like at least 10 or 15 more for the duo, and then the overlap with the Babes of Butcher Holler, which is like all Loretta Lynn songs. There's a lot. It's got to be over 50. Like, I just think of yeah.
Just kind of go back to that. I've heard about the Red Newts a lot, but yeah, tell us a bit more about the Babes of Butcher Holler. What's that band exactly?
That came about actually also, like, I think end of 2019. Nectar's was putting together a lot of like tribute nights, and they needed someone to, I think, go along with a Johnny Cash tribute. And we were like, oh, okay. So we just texted as many people as we could. We got a band together. By the time we got back to them, they were like, ooh, sorry, we filled the slot. And we're like, you guys want to do it anyway? Like, maybe get another date? Because, like, we're pretty
Everyone
hyped
was
about
hyped,
this.
Yeah.
Nick's like, all right, who's a tribute person? Who do you want to do? And I was like, Loretta Lynn, yeah.
So Babes of Butcher Holler are purely a Loretta Lynn tribute band, effectively.
Yeah. We've thrown in, like, over the gigs we've had, depending on the time we have to fill, we've thrown in a couple other just little favorites, little Tanya Tucker, some Dolly Parton, a little bit of everyone.
That's great. So that's kind of like, that's almost your treat. You don't have to think about it too much. You've already got the songs already kind of laid up. It's your recreational band.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like, we had a couple, like, that was another one where like we did end up getting offered a gig at Nectar's after we did it at the radio meeting the first time, right?
Yeah.
So it was like, then the COVID thing happened, and that gig, that was one of the
It was
ones
in
that
the
got
same
canceled.
week as the Delta Suite one that was going to happen.
damn.
Lots of
God,
things,
It
yeah.
was going to be so good.
You guys had the worst week.
It was terrible. Just depressing.
So it was like, we had this band that we like rehearsed all the songs for, and like you said, like all the work was put in, and then I think we did one or two the first summer after, like in the middle of COVID, and then we just got it back together after Loretta Lynn passed. We had to pay some tribute to the Queen, and everyone has so much fun, man. The rehearsals are just like, everyone's hanging out. It's good. It's good.
Where do you even rehearse when you've got 10 people in a band? I mean, that's a lot. We got a fairly decent sized living room. I don't think we could fit 10 people in for a rehearsal there,
It's funny.
Yeah, I feel like the core group is maybe closer to 7 or 8. I lose count. People will come up and be like, come in throughout the show and just come in with some hot licks. But the last couple of times it has just been in our kitchen / dining room, and we just move everything out of the way and just huddle up together.
Well,
Yeah.
you got
Someone's in the
considerate
hallway.
neighbors, I guess.
Yeah, I
With
mean,
thick walls.
we are pretty like, country being a little bit more mellow. Like, I don't know if I would really necessarily have a Red Newts practice in our kitchen, but everyone's like, country is all about like restraint and like making sure everyone's heard and sound checking around the vocals and being subtle and tasteful. So our walls, like, they're pretty like, from when you're outside you can't hear much, but I don't think we'd want to have like a raucous like Red Newts rehearsal in there. Yeah. But yeah, there was like one time my parents came up and they actually like, they have like a camper and they were staying in the driveway. My dad walked in the middle of like the Babes rehearsal, and we're all just like huddled in the kitchen. I got the PA set up. He's like, all right, you guys are up to business in here.
That's great. And so, Delta Suite Duo wise, you getting to a point where you 10 songs, I think I heard before. That's almost an album. That's basically an album. A lot of albums coming out these days with far less songs on it than that. So, are you guys getting into the studio at some point?
We've been talking about it.
Yeah, because it's like, the duo kind of started with like momentum with booking, like we were talking about, right? So you're always constantly trying to find this balance of like, okay, like you know, it's on. You get in this rhythm of like show to show to show to show. What's next? And then it's important to take a minute and go, wait a minute, like we should get this down on record, you know?
Yeah.
So we've talked about doing like a little DIY thing. I got a little setup at our house. I think, I mean, that
But
would be
what's actually holding us back, I think, is we're getting married in 3 weeks, and we've
Oh,
been very,
wow.
very busy.
Congrats.
So, thank
That's
you.
also yeah.
a lot going
That's
on.
amazing. Where are you getting married?
We are getting married in Charlotte in a barn. Our
That's gonna be
friend's
gorgeous.
band, actually, the honky tonk band Wild Lake River, is going to play it. Everyone's going to be wearing cowboy boots. It's
And
gonna
the
be a good
weather
time.
is just about to turn amazing.
I know.
I bet you've been watching that like a hawk for the last like few weeks.
I was
and, like,
thinking it could snow. It could be 75.
it could really go one way or
Anything,
the other,
yeah.
but oh god, I'm sure that's gonna be amazing. So you're gonna get married outside and stuff, and then go into the barn afterwards, or
Yeah. If the weather's right, it'll be outside. Yeah. It's going to be nice.
that's gonna be wonderful. And then obviously you guys are musicians yourselves, so you know might just jump on stage and grab a guitar, grab a
Yeah,
microphone, and give it a go.
We've got a little Loretta Lynn Conway Twitty duet up our sleeve.
Oh, nice.
Maybe. For anyone
You practicing
listening
that
out there,
one?
any family?
Can you do a first dance if you're both playing? It's gonna be difficult to get that one.
Well, yeah, well, like, there's all sorts of scenarios like that we were thinking about. We're like,
We would love to avoid dancing in front of everyone, so maybe.
no, but we did ask our friend. So, like, our friend John, back when Pony Hustle took over the residency at Honky Tonk Tuesday from Brett Hughes, Eric George is the leader of the band, and like John, our friend John, is usually plays rhythm guitar, and they would play this song before we even really knew John that well. He wrote called Chartreuse. Beautiful country song, just like it sounds like it's, you know, it sounds like it's right out of a honky tonk bar, you know, and so we asked him to play that for our first dance. But it's true, we're both pretty nervous about that moment.
Luckily, it's a short song, so.
There we go. You picked a short song, maybe a slow one as well, so
Yeah.
you know, not too much dancing
Yeah.
involved.
It's just a little two-step.
Yeah.
Well, massive congratulations, guys,
Thank you.
and that's a worthy thing to be putting an album on pause for. So, you
Yeah,
guys,
it might be the one good excuse we've ever had to do that.
you guys doing a honeymoon straight after, or is that going to be kind of more of a summer or
Yeah.
later on in the year kind of thing?
We are, the Monday after, we're going to Germany for our honeymoon.
Lovely.
Yeah.
Whereabouts in Germany?
Munich.
It's gorgeous. You're
excited.
going at a good time as well.
Yeah.
Around the spring.
Yeah, we're not beach people, so I was like, we're not going to go to a resort. I'm going to burn to a crisp. We're going to go to the mountains and drink beer.
I am sure you're going to have a wonderful time.
Yeah.
Nick, you seem to have anticipated what my next part was going to be, which is ask you to play your last song. So
Yeah, I got really anxious. I was like, oh my God, I haven't switched guitars yet.
well, what song have you got to play us out with? And that's a great guitar, by the way. It looks like he's wearing a tuxedo.
Oh, it's called the Silvertone Tuxedo.
Oh, there we go.
There you go. Yeah. Yeah. It's very old. It's from the 60s. And the electronics I had Michael Plant from Plant Guitar out in Bristol put them in. He did a full neck reset on it. Yeah, like I was saying, I used to be like, when I first started getting into guitar, I was really into blues. And so that's where I got into playing slide. So we're going to play a slide song for you. This is a original. I wrote maybe the first song I ever wrote for slide guitar. It's called Eggshell Blues.
That's wonderful. I was just saying, by the way, to Annie earlier on that you know someone is serious about playing a song when they sit down for it. So
Well,
I'm glad the store's coming out for it. So you said Eggshell Blues?
Eggshell Blues.
All right, take it away.
Thank you.
walking on eggshells, but I got boots on my feet. Ever watch the moon set? Nighttime don't look so dark. Ever watch the moon set? Nighttime don't look so dark. Anyone who wanna see it, just meet me at the park. Just give me a nod of your head, I'll hop right into my whip. Give me a nod of your head, I'll hop right into my whip. I'ma take me along, get away from everything trip.
Right, Delta Sweet Duo playing us out there with Eggshell Blues. Guys, thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you for having us.
Thank
This
you
is
so much.
awesome.
Yeah, looking forward to that album in several months, maybe a couple of years' time. But big congratulations to you both, and
Thank you.
I hope you have a really great day in the next 3 weeks.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, of course. So that's all we've got time for tonight. Come back and listen next week when we've got the Cam Gilmore Trio coming in. But for tonight, this has been WOMMLP operating out of Burlington, Vermont, 105.9 The Radiator. It's been The Rocket Shop. I've been your host, Tom Proctor, and good night.